talk today is about Mother, about seeking our Divine Mother. Why? Well, today is celebrated commonly as Mother's Day. So first, I salute all those who are mothers present today, and we salute our own mother. And our true mother is our Divine Mother, so we salute our Divine Mother. And I wanted to talk about this idea of seeking Mother. And first, I was thinking about when the time is ripe for us to seek Mother. When does the time come when we wake up and want to find our Mother? And sometimes it may take a long time. You know, I lived in Providence, Rhode Island for 3 years. And I rode my bicycle throughout that city, and I must have ridden by the Vedanta Society of Providence probably more than 100 times. And there was a great saint living there, a great monk named Swami Sarvagatananda. Some of you have met him. But I didn't go. I didn't know about it. I didn't see him. Why? It was right there. See, now I joined Sri Ramakrishna's order. My time wasn't ripe yet. The time wasn't yet ripe for me to come. How many years, how many lifetimes we are stumbling about in darkness, in a dream or a nightmare. But when the time is ripe, then we wake up and we realize that we want something more. We want something more than the joys of this world are not going to be enough for us. And the things which used to please us no longer give us the same satisfaction. The happiness of money and house and car, name and fame, all these things, that happiness is tarnished. And we ask, is there nothing more? Is there nothing more? And that's when seeking begins, seeking for something beyond, something that's seeking to gain that something which will give us the true joy, the true peace. And so we become seekers of God. So we should feel blessed. Let us feel blessed that we are seekers. Let us feel blessed that our hour has struck, as they say. The hour has struck. Why? Because it is when we become seekers of God that we shall find God. And we have the assurance of one of the great world teachers, Jesus, who says, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone who asks receives, and everyone who seeks finds. And for everyone who knocks, the door will be opened. So it's a great assurance. And Sri Ramakrishna gives the same kind of teachings. If we take one step towards God, God takes 10 steps or maybe 100 steps towards us. So, but we have to be seekers. We have to throw away our toys and start calling on Mother, and then she comes. And Sri Krishna reminds us in the Gita, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschin yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhadam kaschin mam vedi tattvataha. Amongst thousands of people, perhaps one is a seeker. One strives for perfection out of thousands. And among the striving, those blessed ones, the seekers, perhaps one knows me in reality, in truth. So it's a sobering thought. But we know that we are that one among the thousands. We are blessed. We have taken this momentous step, which we can consider a giant evolutionary leap, like a primeval fish in prehistory that struggled to crawl its way out of the water and onto land. We are moving from darkness to light. We are moving from matter to spirit. We have become seekers of God. So that means that we are on the road to attaining spiritual illumination. We are on the road to gaining our true inheritance, our divine birthright, the realization of our true nature, the attainment of infinite peace and joy. spiritual illumination, God realization. We are on that path, and we shall reach the goal. We fall into a special category of people. There are in this world many people of different classes, we can say. The atheists who are sure there's no God. There's nothing more than this. So eat, drink, and be merry if you can. Somehow manage. It's difficult to be merry in this world all the time. And then there are the agnostics. Oh, God may be there, or maybe not there. Or it's impossible to know. And actually, mostly, I don't care one way or the other. Or it's impossible to know, so never mind. This is another category of people. And then there are different classes of people who believe in something more than this physical reality. People who say, well, God is there, sure, God is there, but that's not relevant to me. I'm busy with my life. I will think of God in the hour of death. That's enough for me. Of course, Sri Ramakrishna warns us, if we spend our whole lives doing something, at the hour of death, we'll think of that thing. So at the hour of death, how will we think of God unless we have thought of God all throughout? But anyhow, that's one class. Then there's people who look on God as our servant. God exists, and God should give me everything I need. I go approach God for all my needs, house, car, health, wealth, etc. This is called shopkeeping, religious shopkeeping. God, I pray to you, and you should give me everything. And then there's the category of seekers, those who want to know God. We want to know. We're not satisfied with anything else. We don't think of God as our servant. Rather, we want to become the servant of God. Or we want to love God. To love God for the sake of love. Not for wealth or health or any of those things. Just to know. When this attitude comes, that means yearning has awoken in our hearts. Yearning for God, which is an essential ingredient in spiritual life. An essential ingredient. And then there's a very, very small category, though it might be larger than we realize, of those who have realized God, who have experienced the divine directly, who know their own true nature as one with the divine. So, one thing though, and it's interesting that Sri Krishna distinguishes among different people who approach the divine. He says there are 4 kinds of people who approach God, who worship me, he says, Sri Krishna. And they are the artaha, those who are distressed, the jignasu, the seekers of knowledge, the artharthi, the seeker of enjoyment, and the jnanis, the wise. Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukriti norjuna. Arto jignasu artharthi jnani cha bharatarshava. So what's interesting is that he says they are all sukritinaha. They are all virtuous. They're all good. To seek God is good, even if we seek God as a servant, as I said, to make God our servant. Even if we seek God because we want wealth, or we want health, or we're in trouble, yes. And devotees, if we are devotees and we get into trouble, where will we go? We will go to God, absolutely. But all virtuous. But then he says, the one who is wise is the best. And the one who is wise is the one who knows the divine exists, who is the God-realized person. So he says, they are all noble. They are all noble. But the wise person I regard as my very self, what Sri Krishna says. So we fall perhaps in the category of the jignasus, the seekers of God. How wonderful. When we become seekers, we are going beyond conventional religion and entering the spiritual path, the path of yoga. So this is most important. It is now an active attitude, a process of seeking, of searching, a struggling to find. So it means we feel a lack, we feel a thirst, we feel a hunger, a longing. And Sri Ramakrishna assures us, One attains God, one attains the divine when one feels that yearning for him. And that yearning he calls as anuraga or vyakulata, an intense restlessness. Khub vyakulata, this intense restlessness, not for anything else, but to know God. That is needed. And through that, he says, the whole mind goes towards the divine. So this is the very essence of being seekers of God, actually. This yearning, this longing, this extreme eagerness. Who will drink if he or she is not thirsty? Of course, nowadays the health gurus say you should drink 1 liter or 2 liters or however many liters of water a day. And so at least in California, you see lots of people dragging water bottles around and they're constantly drinking water, even though they're not thirsty, because the gurus say you should drink plenty of water. But ordinarily, we won't drink unless we're thirsty. And we won't eat if we're not hungry. So who will call on God who feels no yearning? It is yearning that impels us to call on God. It is yearning that forces us to turn to the divine, to seek within. And as that intensity increases, our progress also increases. Longing, says Sri Ramakrishna, is like the rosy dawn. Before the sun rises, we see the sky becomes rosy. He says that is a sign that the sun is about to rise. When you see intense longing in someone, that is the sign that they will attain realization soon. So longing is followed by the vision of God. So Swami Vivekananda has a very interesting story about this longing. He's quoting Sri Ramakrishna, but he only says, when he's giving this teaching in the West, a great sage once told me, meaning Sri Ramakrishna, that not 1 in 20 million in this world believed in God. I asked him why. And he told me, suppose there is a thief in this room, and he gets to know that there is a mass of gold in the next room, and only a very thin partition between the 2 rooms. What will be the condition of that thief? I answered, Swami Vivekananda says, he will not be able to sleep at all. His brain will be actively thinking of some means of getting at the gold, and he will think of nothing else. Then he replied, do you believe that a man could believe in God and not go mad to get him? If someone sincerely believes that there is an immense, infinite mine of bliss and that it can be reached, would not that person go mad in the struggle to reach it? How powerful. Our Divine Mother is this mine of infinite bliss. Sri Ramakrishna used to call her Anandamayi, she who is the very embodiment of bliss, she who is full of bliss. Why do we not go mad? Why do we not? There's an infinite mine of bliss, our Divine Mother. But we are not going mad to see her. Why? Because she is still an idea to us. We don't have that intense conviction that, yes, she is the infinite mind of bliss and she is lying within us and I can realize her. So when Mother becomes fully real to us, when we truly feel that she is our own mother, then, like the thief, we will become completely restless. We won't even be able to sleep, longing for Mother. So we may not yet, most of us, have that kind of intense yearning that Sri Ramakrishna is talking about in Swami Vivekananda. But we have some yearning, or you wouldn't have given up a nice Sunday morning, which most people use for sleeping in and relaxing and drinking coffee and having brunch with their families or their friends and all of that, and come to a Vedanta society to hear a talk. How many people will do that? People who have yearning for God. So this is a great treasure. This yearning is a great treasure, and it is to be protected. Like a little fire, if you've ever gone camping and built a little campfire, and the wind is blowing. So what do? You put some rocks, And you protect that flame from the wind, and maybe you put up some pieces of cardboard, and gradually you build it up, and you go on adding little bits of wood and more bigger pieces of wood until finally you get a blazing fire, and the wind can't put it out, and even the rain can't put it out. So like that, we have to protect and stoke that little flame of our longing for God, and see that it burns brighter, and protect it from the worldly wind and the rain of worldliness, and gradually it becomes a tremendous fire. So Patanjali notes in his Yoga Sutras that for those who have that intense yearning, who are extremely energetic, who have that strong desire, success is speedy. Tivra samveganam asanna. That tivra samvegan, the success is speedy. So that's a wonderful hint. So for us, how to protect that yearning is a critical point, a critical question. And I think we know that some of the disciplines that we learn about for protecting and fanning the flame of that yearning. One of the important disciplines is this practice of viveka. Viveka means, often it's translated as discrimination, but we have to use a different word for it because discrimination has a very different meaning nowadays. What we mean is using our mind to discern, to look with a clear mind at the actual facts of things. And we begin to observe how everything which we can perceive with our senses is impermanent. We begin to look, if we look deeply at the world, we see that it's a mixture of pleasure and pain. We don't find unalloyed bliss in fulfilling worldly aims. We don't find it. So ordinarily we think, well, I'll be happy when, ... fill in the blank. I'll be happy, I'll be satisfied when, ... But that thing which we will be satisfied with, it's always changing. Maybe it's getting that promotion, or buying the new house, or getting our children married, or whatever it may be. When that happens, and then happens, and we think, and then something else comes up. Oh, but now I'm not happy because of this problem. Then now I've needed this. So this viveka is looking at this seriously and understanding it. And that naturally stokes that fire of yearning that, well, if everything here is somehow a little unsatisfactory, how can I find that which will give me lasting satisfaction? So that vairagya comes, a certain detachment from the world and a longing for the divine. And of course, contemplative disciplines are important also. We practice in Vedanta Society, many of us practice regular prayer and japa, meditation. It is when we can get a little taste for God, a taste for Mother, to taste the sweetness of spiritual life, to taste the sweetness of her name, to taste the sweetness of the divine name. As the mind calms down and we're able to feel the divine holy presence within us, we start to taste that sweetness. That's a great help. That gives us great encouragement. And then, of course, the question of the company we keep is also important for that flame, to protect that flame, or as Sri Ramakrishna used to use the example of a sapling. Say you plant the sapling of a tree, and you have to put a fence around it, right? Or the cows and the goats will come and eat it up. So you have to put a sturdy fence around it. But when that tree gradually grows strong, when it grows really big, you can tie an elephant to it and nothing will happen to it. But in the beginning, yes, we have to be a little careful about the company which we keep. This kind of gathering is very helpful. It's a gathering of devotees. We start to feel like, I'm not the only fool who is interested in God. There are other people who are also interested. Swami Swahanandaji used to use that example. And if we can get it, the company of a Mahapurush, of a great saint, if we can get that. Or if we cannot get that in the flesh, we can get it through the books, the scriptures, the books about the great souls like Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother and Swami Vivekananda. Read the reminiscences of Vivekananda and we find ourselves in his presence, inspired and protected. So the Holy Company counteracts the worldly wind blowing everywhere. Most people's minds are directed, as Sri Ramakrishna said, in Calcutta, I saw that everybody's mind is directed towards the stomach. So he could see that, looking out the carriage, he'd see all the people walking out. They're all thinking about their stomachs. So, yes, but in Holy Company, we are with other people who are thinking of God. So it's a tremendous help. And that is the great fruit of Holy Company, we can say, is a strengthened faith, a conviction in the truth of the Spirit. And the devotion rubs off. We spend time with the other devotees, it rubs off. Just like if we spend time with football fans, gradually we'll be forced to become a football fan. In spite of ourselves, we'll start being interested. We'll start watching the games. We'll start rooting for a team. So spend time with devotees, we start rooting for God and rooting for the seekers of God. So another practice which helps make God real for us is the practice of puja, of ritual worship. And it can be as simple as what I did this morning, chanting a few mantras and laying some flowers on the altar. Or it can take a more formal shape, as you know. Sometimes we celebrate here, for instance, Durga Puja every year. And that's quite an elaborate worship in which it really takes someone who's well-trained in the rituals to utter the hundreds of different mantras and mudras and all that. But even when we attend such a function, we begin to feel that the Divine Mother is manifesting in the holy image, and Mother becomes real for us. This is one of Sri Ramakrishna's great contributions to the world, is this idea of reawakening or revivifying the practice of looking on God as Divine Mother, approaching God as Divine Mother. For most people, the relationship between mother and child is the closest one. It's the closest relationship we feel that there can be. After all, the child has come out of the mother's own body. So there's this very intense and deep connection between the mother and the child, and she loves that child unconditionally, especially, of course, at first. When the child is first born, the parents and even grandparents say that my heart opened and I fell completely in love with my child or my grandchild. And that unconditional love, willing to love without any conditions at all. And that is, no doubt, a very blissful experience. That is the nature of divine love. It is completely unconditional. It doesn't expect anything in return. It loves everyone equally. And it is of the nature of bliss. So Swami Vivekananda says, instead of our Father in heaven, we say Mother all the time. And that idea and that word are ever associated in the Hindu mind with infinite love. The mother's love being the nearest approach to God's love in this mortal world of ours. Sri Ramakrishna also emphasized this idea of feeling that God is our own. He would say, God is your own mother. Is she a stepmother? Is it an artificial relationship? If you cannot force your demand on her, then on whom can you force it? God is your own mother. Apnarma, he would say, your very own mother. There was a nice talk given at our Ramakrishna monastery in Trabuco in probably 1999 by Swami Vipraananda was there at the time, and he gave a talk. I don't remember the talk, but I remember the subject. It was called Longing and Belonging. And the main premise of the talk was, the more we can feel that we belong to God, the more we long for God. The more we feel we belong to Mother, that we are her children, the more we can reinvent our identity not as so-and-so and such a position, and I'm an uncle or an aunt or a son or a daughter and all of these things, but rather I am Divine Mother's child. The more we can feel we belong to Mother, the more we long for her, the more we get that yearning to find her. And then as Sri Ramakrishna's beautiful example, which he tells again and again, of a child playing with its toy, a red toy. And as long as the child is playing with its toy, the mother goes about her housework. She's cooking and she's whatever else she's doing. And when the child throws that toy away, she comes running. So maybe first the child throws it away and the mother tries again. She sticks the pacifier in the child's mouth and says, hey, stuck on this a little more, and goes back to her work. But when the child throws the toy away and screams at the top of its voice, mother quickly sets aside what she's doing, comes running, takes the child in her arm. See, look outside. Just turn around, look through the glass window. That's what mother does. Exactly what mother does. It's so nice to illustrate the point just like that. Thank you very much. So Sri Ramakrishna himself modeled this relationship of child with the Divine Mother. That he was just the simply Divine Mother's child. We find on nearly every page Sri Ramakrishna speaking of Mother, praying to Mother, singing to Mother, and often calling her Anandamayi, the all blissful Mother. So a little bit about the conception of God as Mother. As you know, in the tradition of Mother worship, Mother is the conception of God as power, as Shakti, which again is feminine. This is the Divine Mother. And it's a beautiful conception in Sri Ramakrishna's teachings of Brahman and Shakti, a non-dual conception. Brahman and Shakti are not separate. They are not two. The impersonal, infinite, absolute existence, knowledge, bliss, Satchidananda, which how we very often describe the nature of the divine in Vedanta as Satchitananda, infinite existence, consciousness, bliss, and also the power associated with that. So when it is manifesting as this universe. So Sri Ramakrishna would say, the primordial power, the Adya Shakti, is ever at play. She is creating, preserving, and destroying, in play, as it were. This power is called Kali. Kali is verily Brahman, and Brahman is verily Kali. It is one and the same reality. So this is the idea of Divine Mother as power. And Swami Vivekananda, when speaking of her in Thousand Island Park to his intimate disciples, he would say, because from the platform, he didn't speak of Divine Mother. He spoke of Vedanta, of Upanishads, of Brahman, of Atman. But to his disciples, he let know his inner heart, which was also utterly dedicated to Divine Mother, to Kali. She is life, he says. She is intelligence. She is love. She is in the universe, yet separate from it. She is a person. She is a person and can be seen and known as Sri Ramakrishna saw and knew her. And he goes on to say, established in the idea of mother, we can do anything. She quickly answers prayer. She can show herself to us in any form at any moment, he says. And he says, Divine Mother can have form, rupa, and name, nama, or name without form. And as we worship her in these various aspects, we can rise to pure being, having neither form nor name. So she also grants, as Sri Ramakrishna would say, she also can grant the experience of the non-dual absolute reality. And he says, worship her if you want love and wisdom. I often love to reread Sri Ramakrishna's experience, his first experience of the Divine Mother. And how did that come? Purely through longing. He had had no formal instruction in spiritual disciplines, only he had received the mantra for Mother Kali, and he was performing the ritual worship in the temple. But he was wondering, he was seized with this longing to know, is Mother real? Is it just a statue I'm worshiping? Or is it really Divine Mother? Is she real? And he was so seized with this longing that it became a kind of unbearable anguish. Let me read that passage. This is from Sri Ramakrishna, the great master. I felt as if my heart were being squeezed like a wet towel. You know, as we wring out a gamcha after bathing, we wring out that little towel. Felt like that. I was overpowered with a great restlessness and a fear that it might not be my lot to realize her in this life. I could not bear the separation from her any longer. Life seemed to be not worth living. Suddenly, my glance fell on the sword that was kept in the mother's temple. I determined to put an end to my life. When I jumped up like a madman and seized it, suddenly the Blessed Mother revealed herself. So she's not arguing for suicide. It had reached that feverish pitch of longing. If we haven't that kind of longing, then it's not okay. So he describes what happened when Mother revealed herself. The buildings with their different parts, the temple, and everything else vanished from my sight, leaving no trace whatsoever. And in their stead, I saw a limitless, infinite, effulgent ocean of consciousness. As far as the eye could see, the shining billows were madly rushing at me from all sides with a terrific noise to swallow me up. I was panting for breath. I was caught in the rush and collapsed, unconscious. What was happening in the outside world, I did not know. But within me, there was a steady flow of undiluted bliss, altogether new. And I had the direct, immediate experience of the Divine Mother. So this is the remarkable experience he had. And we think that maybe he would have had the vision of Mother Kali, as whom he's calling, with her four arms and all of that. But he had even a much more overpowering experience of an infinite ocean of bliss, which was swallowing him up in it. And he was simply, bliss is what remained. We should talk just for a little bit about the Durga Puja and that beautiful tradition of Bengal, where every village and every neighborhood celebrates this autumnal festival of the worship of the Divine Mother. And the whole community participates. And it can be described, I feel, as a gradual and sustained escalation of intensity. Now, I experienced it, of course, at Belor Mutt, which is unique, perhaps, or almost unique in how carefully and to what extent the scriptural injunctions are followed. But it starts more than a month before with the sculptors coming to construct the image of the Mother. And they build the altar where the puja will be constructed, and the pandal to protect the worship. And of course, the ingredients are being collected from months before. They have to collect waters from 7 oceans and waters from 7 rivers and different kinds of earth from all kinds of both holy and unholy places. And the monks gather about a month before. They gather and start singing songs, welcoming Mother. And it's very interesting how the Divine Mother Durga, at the time of Durga Puja, there's a mix, a mingling of different mythologies together. Because on the one hand, Mother Durga is Mahishasuramardini, the one who is all-powerful and destroys the demon, Mahisha. And yet, on the other hand, she's the daughter who was married off to that crazy guy Shiva, and she's coming home for 3 days to visit her parents. And the women especially welcome her home as their daughter. So she is looked on both as mother and as daughter, like the song that you sang to open our gathering. The return of a married daughter to her parental home. So these songs are so full of pathos and describing how their daughter was married to this guy, Shiva, who takes bhang, who takes marijuana, and roams about in the cremation ground, and has sold mother's jewels to buy more ganja and crazy things like this. And yet, then at the same time, she is also Mahishasura, the destroyer of demons. And so when finally it's time for the puja to begin, the mother is invoked in the image. And then it's for 3 days of festivity, all-day worship. And everybody becomes intoxicated, as it were. And mother becomes manifestly present. One almost has to feel it to understand. Those of us who have experienced it understand, I think, what I'm talking about. There's also a young girl is worshipped as Divine Mother. On the platform where the puja is conducted, right in front of the mother's image, a young girl of 5 years old or so, she is dressed as Divine Mother. And we feel at that time that the Divine Mother is actually manifesting through this girl. And people are weeping and just stunned to see this young Divine Mother in the form of a young girl. And she is worshipped according to the rites. And if she is gracious enough to give a smile, everybody's heart soars because the Divine Mother is smiling at us. It's an amazing experience. So we get a little taste of that here every year, as we have a big gathering here, and many songs to Mother are sung, and it's a very joyous occasion. And then comes the heartbreaking time when we say goodbye to Mother until next year. Mother goes back to her abode with Shiva in the mountains, and the parents have to say goodbye to her. But what happens? Mother's image, that beautiful image which we worshipped for 4 days, we throw it in the river. We throw it in the ocean. We throw it in a pond. How is that possible? From the form, she goes back to the formless. But first, we immerse her in our hearts. And there's a special ritual for that. A mirror is placed just in a big vessel of water. And we go and we try to catch a glimpse of Mother's face in that mirror and feel that Mother is coming here to dwell in our hearts. Because that is truly where we find Mother, in our hearts. And there's a very touching song which is sung at that time. After Mother comes out of her image and goes back to our hearts, There's this song, "Oh Mother, just once, reveal yourself to me in my heart, in the lotus of my heart, oh Mother, just once, that let me behold your beauty, that beauty which fills and bewitches the universe, Mother." Many of you will have heard that song, probably sung here, as well as in India, Bengali song. Ekbar birajo go ma hridi kamalashani. So it's very touching. Just Mother, please come here. And there's some that it expresses this craving, this yearning that, okay, Mother, we had you with us. Now we're saying goodbye to the physical form, but Mother, don't let me forget you. I want to see you always within. And this beautiful line, Dukha daina harini, chaitanya karini, Anna kichui chaina bina charam dukhani. Oh Mother, oh, you are the destroyer of misery. You grant us spiritual illumination. I have no other desire, Mother. I don't want anything else but your 2 blessed feet. That's all I want. And I have this one desire in my mind, that I will adorn those feet, that I will worship those feet with the lotus of my love. So, a beautiful, beautiful song. And then the last line, it goes like this. paribrajak bhikhari, sadh monete bhari, madhur hashi makha mar mukhani heri, boshe mayer kole mama bole, mate bo joga dhani, kamalashani. It means this wandering beggar. The song must have been written by a monk. This wandering beggar has one desire left: to see the divine face of the mother lit up with a smile. And then, what happens then? Then I shall sit on mother's lap, and calling out, Ma, Ma, shall be immersed in the deepest meditation. So that is the call to us to be to sing this song with all our heart. That really is where we are always sitting, if we can realize it, in mother's lap. Sit in mother's lap and call out, Mother, Ma, 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 and be absorbed in the deepest meditation. I thought I could close with just touching on one other favorite song of mine, which is a Kamalakant song, one of the poet saints of Bengal, one of the two most well-known devotees of Mother Kali, the other being Ramprasad, of course. He was a little bit after Ramprasad. Ramprasad was born somewhere around 1720-ish and left the body somewhere around 1775. And Kamalakanta was born around 1769 and left the body in 1821. So this is a song which describes his own mind as like a bee. And what is that bee to do? That bee is drawn irresistibly to a lotus, the lotus of Mother Kali's feet. So it's a delightful image of the mind of the honeybee. A honeybee drinks what? Only nectar. A fly will sit on all kinds of, a fly may sit on a flower and drink some nectar, but mostly it goes to all kinds of things. So mostly our minds are like flies, right? They go, sometimes we may taste a sweet flower, and other times we may taste some of the rubbish in the trash can or whatever it may be. But his mind is like a honeybee, a brahmara, that will drink only the nectar. What nectar? The nectar of Mother Kali's feet. And the ordinary blossoms of worldly things, they have become tasteless to that bee. The lust and gold and all those things, tasteless now. And well, those feet, Mother Kali's feet, are black. And the bee also is black. What happens when the bee comes to the flower? Black is made one with black. So in the translation, my mother's feet are black, and black too is the bee. Black is made one with black. This much of the mystery these mortal eyes behold, then hastily retreat. But Kamalakanta's hopes are answered in the end. He swims in the sea of bliss, unmoved by joy or pain. The first line, it goes like this, something like this. Manjlo amara mana brahmara shama padanil kamole shama padanil kamole kali padanil kamole manjlo amara man brahmara. So it's an intoxicating song that I learned it at Belur Mutt, and the monks sing it at Kali Puja. And they'll sing it not once, they'll sing it 4 or 5 times through, just to the words get driven deep into our minds. So this is really the last line, Sukha Dukha Saman Holo Ananda Shagor Uthale. So that means that swimming, as it were, in the sea of bliss. All his the joys and the pains of life, the ordinary happiness and pain are all, they are simply left behind. They become the same because he's swimming in the sea of real infinite bliss. So he says that all his hopes, they're fulfilled at that time. All his hopes, all his desires, they become completely filled and stilled. And this is the promise of spiritual life. When we seek the mother, because when we seek, we shall find. And when we knock, it shall be opened. And we shall swim on the sea of bliss. So I pray that we may get a taste of that bliss and taste more and more of it, that our minds may become not like the ordinary housefly, but like the bee, so that it runs always to the lotus flower of Divine Mother's feet. Om Sarva Mangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Srishtisthiti Vinashanam Shakti Bhute Sanatani Gunashraye Gunamaye Narayani Namostute Sharanagata Dinartha Paritrana Parayane Sarvasyarti Hare Devi Narayani Namostute. O thou, the giver of all blessings, O thou, the doer of all good, O thou, the fulfiller of all desires, O thou, the giver of refuge, our salutations to thee, O Mother Divine. O thou, eternal Mother, thou hast the power to create, to preserve, and to dissolve. Thou, the dwelling place and embodiment of the three gunas. Our salutations to thee, O Mother Divine. O thou, the Savior of all who take refuge in thee, the lowly and the distressed, who takest away the sufferings of all. Our salutations to thee, O Mother